But today we are talking about success, mindset, and how those are so tied together. And really, you can't have one without the other. I'm going to give you some practical tips. We're going to talk about, what your daily mindset practice should look like. We're going to talk about how to actually play it like a game. We're going to talk about how so many people spend most of their time looking at strategy when actually mindset is the biggest piece of it. And I am going to share a lot with you about how that has shown up in my business more and more. So super excited you're here. Thank you for joining me. I think this is going to be a good one. I also am in such a place where this feels so relevant because we just did the Happy Thoughts retreat this weekend, which was entirely life and mindset. Certainly we talked business in the sense that we're all business owners, but we did not talk business strategy once. Which was so cool and so amazing. But then already today, people are emailing us and texting us and messaging us and saying, oh my God, this thing happened today. Like, I feel like I made such a quantum leap. Oh my God, I got yeses on these sales calls, that kind of thing. It's because we did the mindset work in such a full-on way all weekend. So a perfect place to talk about this, perfect perspective to come into this live stream with. So if you're here, say hi. Thank you for joining me. I want to know for you guys what you could say time or percentage, but basically like how often are you spending on mindset work? Like, is it like a once a week thing? Is it a once a month thing? Is it a once a day thing? Like, how much of your energy and attention does that get in your business? So if you're watching, I would love to know, just give me like ballpark, like once a week I think about mindset or do something for it, or twice a day or whatever. I would just love to know, because I think it's so interesting to see where we're all at. Hey, Raquel, thank you for being here. It's so interesting to see where we're all at. For me, my answer is daily and has been for quite some time, but it doesn't mean that has to be the thing for you, although I would highly recommend it. But I would love to know, what does that look like for you right now? Gina says she meditates every morning for 5 to 10 minutes. Amazing. Beautiful. I love that. Cool. Keep them coming and I will kind of dive in here. So let's just start with what's the actual purpose of mindset work? Because I think that gets very confused in our industry, which is it's to get you this thing, or it's to make you more money, or it's whatever. And the purpose of mindset work is just to feel good. Take that on in. The purpose of mindset work is actually just to feel good. Okay? And here's what I mean by that. Your affirmations are to put you in a space where your brain starts to feel good and feel like those are true. Your meditation is to put you in a space that lessens your anxiety and connects you to the whole more and makes you feel good on a regular basis. Your tapping is to deal with a situation that's giving you anxiety, to bring it down and feel amazing. All of it is aimed at, how do I feel good? How do I feel good? How do I feel good, right? It's not aimed at I must do this to get a thing. This type of mindset work gets me this thing, right? It's all how do I feel good? How do I feel good more consistently? How do I train my brain to let myself feel good more consistently, right? Sorry, I'm hair in my mouth. Raquel says, try to engage it daily, but it can look a lot of different ways. I try to engage in either some reading, writing, watching, meditating, but moving to daily is a new thing for me. Awesome, Raquel. Christine says she does it every morning. Beautiful. Cool. So if you're just joining us, say hi and tell us, how often do you do mindset work? So back to that point of mindset work's purpose is just to feel good. I think that is so important, and I just want to reinforce that one more time, because I think so often it gets so convoluted where it's almost to give us another thing, or and certainly it reprograms your brain, but what are we trying to reprogram your brain for? The belief that you can feel good more often, that it's okay to feel good, that it's safe to feel good, that you should feel good all the time, that the universe should send you more situations, circumstances, and events that make you feel good, right? So whatever mindset work you're doing, its aim should be to make you feel good. Its aim should be to get you more of what you want, right? Its aim should be to put you in the place where you believe you can feel good all the time. And the thing that's interesting about that is that so often we get so rigid about it, well, what kind of mindset work should I do? What's the perfect way to do it? What's the thing. Do the mindset work that makes you feel the best, because its entire purpose is to make you feel good, right? But we're going to talk even more in depth about that in a minute. But I just want to start with that context, because if you guys watch my live streams, you know I love providing context. And because I think it's an important foundation to start with, where it's like, oh yeah, it's not this like uber complicated thing. Like the entire point is for me to feel good. Okay, let me think about it from that perspective, right? Okay, so why is it 90% of the game? That's something I want to talk about too, because I think that can feel like almost like a big statement, like, oh, 90%, holy shit, right? But I really, really do think that mindset is 90% of the game in business. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to give you an example. You guys know I love, what do I love? Dating and weight loss examples. But like weight loss is actually very, very, very simple. I know this because I spent years searching for a magic bullet and have tried and bought like every stupid, you know, ebook and program you could possibly buy, because I kept thinking, well, there's got to be a better, easier, faster way here, right? No, there's not. Basically, that's so good, you guys. It has pumpkin spice in it. So good. Basically, every weight loss program, strategy, whatever you want to call it, has some version of eat healthy, put good food in your body, keep your calories in check, move your body. Eat real food, move your body, keep your calories in check. Like there's no weight loss protocol that isn't some version of that. Now, it might be way more complicated in some facets or have way more rules or whatever, but at the core of basically everything, every strategy for weight loss is that eat healthy, keep your calories in check, move your body. That's it, right? Now that I've tasted the pumpkin spice, I want more of the pumpkin spice. Okay, that's it though, right? And so what happens is we spend all of our time looking for another strategy, another strategy, another strategy, another program, another program, another program. And I say this because I've been there. And what happens? Same thing. They tell us the same thing. And maybe we try it for a little bit, but then we always go back to looking for, but what's the better, easier, faster way? Because this one doesn't feel as good. Well, there isn't one. The better, easier, faster way is to work your mindset so that you want to do those things, right? When I had trouble losing weight in the past, it was because I didn't want to do those things. I didn't want to eat healthier. I didn't want to move my body. I didn't want to count my calories, right? Or control them, or whatever we want to say. I didn't want to do any of those things. And so I kept looking for something that would tell me, oh, you don't have to do any of these things, when what I really needed to fix was my mindset that I didn't want to do those things. My mindset that said that those things were bad or restrictive or not fun or whatever. Does that make sense? And so that's why, you know, and I'm so not a health coach or trying to be on a platform. It's just easier to see something outside of business sometimes. But that's why, like, you know, I don't have a fucking clue what the percentage is, but it's like over half of America is obese, right? And it's not because they don't know what to do, right? It's not because they don't know the strategy. It's not because that is not pretty clear. It's not because that's not easy to figure out or find. It's because most of the time we're not implementing the strategy. Our mind is in the way of us implementing the strategy. Our mind is in the way of us doing the thing, right? I was literally talking to the girls in my value-centered sales mastermind this morning about separating feelings from business. Like, I feel impatient, or I feel like I need this client to respond right away because it's causing me discomfort. I feel like I, want an answer from this client that said she needed to think about it this second because I am uncomfortable. My feelings are that it is uncomfortable. But that's how we make poor business decisions, is we don't manage our feelings over here and make business decisions over here. They feel so intertwined, right? And that's where it gets hard because we're not managing our mindset. So our business is managing our mindset for us. Every decision we make in business becomes a byproduct of how we're feeling. And so if we're not feeling good most of the time, it's impossible to show up and make good business decisions. Does that make sense? Just like If I'm using food to manage my feelings and I'm not feeling good most of the time, guess what's going to happen, right? Does that make sense? Hey, Kara, thank you for joining me. Hey, Darla, pumpkin spice, right? Like now you're going to make me take another sip. I can't help it. Okay, so does that make sense? Mindset is the foundation. It's the whole thing. It's the 90%, because once you do that 90%, once you feel good, once you believe that things are possible for you, once you feel like it's your right to feel good all the time, you get to make really good business decisions. You get to use really smart strategy. You get to show up and execute on the things that you know you should be doing anyway. Don't find more things. Don't look for more information. Does that make sense? Just like when I said I bought like every like weight loss thing out there, I did not need more information. I needed more implementation, right? So that's why mindset is literally 90% of the game, because the 10% on almost anything, business, weight loss, success, whatever, is pretty clear and easy. The 10% is easy. The 90% that's hard is getting the fuck out of our own way for long enough to do it, right? So one quote that I love is by Dana Wilde. I'm not going to say it exactly how she says it, but she says it in her book, Train Your Brain. And she basically says you could line up 100 business owners, or $100 million plus business owners, and they would all have a different strategy of how they got there. They would all have one thing in common, and that would be their mindset, right? That would be the mindset of how they felt about success, what they thought was possible for them, how much they believed in themselves, that kind of thing, right? They'd all probably have a different strategy for how they made it happen, right? Some different versions in different ways, right? Maybe they use Facebook ads to get visible instead of Facebook groups or whatever. But at the core, the mindset would be the same. Does that make sense? And I think that's such a profound thought and such a profound piece to really take in and think about, which is like, if I'm spending 90% of my business on the thing that only impacts 10% of my result, no wonder I'm fucking frustrated all the time. No wonder I'm doing all the things and not seeing the results. No wonder I'm paralyzed and not doing any of the things and not seeing any of the results. No wonder I'm doing 50 of the things half-ass and only seeing half-ass results. Because why? I'm focusing 90% of my energy on something that impacts 10% of my results. Does that make sense, you guys? If you have a question, let me know. If you agree with me, give me an emoji. If you're like, oh, this is hard for me to take in because I want it to be the strategy all the time, let me know that too. I'm going to take a pumpkin spice sip. Okay, so one thing that's super interesting to me is a lot of my clients are super successful in this industry. Many of them are like more well-known than me in a lot of ways. And so a lot of people will come to me, and if they know, probably a lot of them you don't even know are my clients, but if you do, some people will come to me or they'll sign up with me as a client and they'll be like, okay, so I want to know what so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so have done because, oh my gosh. And I'm like, same shit that everybody else is doing. They got visible, they got clear on their message, they showed the fuck up, they got super consistent, they did the work, they found a strategy that they loved, and that's about it. They're like, okay, but like, what are they really doing? Like, what are they like really doing? Because like they went, they blew up so big, they're making so much money, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, no, same. Right? And the difference is they're all working the hell out of their mindset. They're all showing up and doing that work consistently and all the time and often enough to get the fuck out of their own way, so that they're showing up, so that they're doing the damn work, so that they're executing on the strategy. Does that make sense? So it's not like there's some secret. Like I so try to dispel that myth all the time. And again, like if people know some of my clients and they come to me and ask, they're like really ready for me to tell them like, oh, well, they like have this super secret back-end strategy that nobody actually knows about. And I only teach it to people if blah, 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 blah. Like, it's not like that. It's not like that at all, you guys. Just like when I was looking for that super secret weight loss thing, you know, I wasn't going to anyone and they were like, oh yeah, there's just actually this pill. That's it. That's what I wanted, but it wasn't true. Does that make sense? Right? So those clients that I've had and supported to see these giant results have been because they did the mindset work over the strategy work. They did the mindset work enough to get out of their own way so they could implement the strategy really consistently, really effectively, and put themselves out there in a way that maybe no one else is, and brag on themselves and share their wins and lean into it and become an influencer, right? Because they did the mindset work, not because they strategically did things different than probably what you're even thinking of doing right now. Does that make sense? Hey, Sarah Pelk. Hey, Rita. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Sarah Pelk. Siri picked that up and was like, call Sarah Pelk. Hey, Rita, thank you for joining me. I know you're so busy and traveling like a crazy person. Cool. So think about this, like how you think about things entirely impacts not only how you show up, but that's really important. That's what we were just saying. How I think about things entirely impacts how I show up, but it also impacts what I attract too, right? So if I think that most of my strategies might not work, they're probably not going to work. If I'm in a mindset space of, well, I just work hard all the time and don't see results, I'm probably not going to see results. If I'm, in a headspace of like, nobody listens to my live streams, somebody likes my live streams, that's probably going to be a really consistent thing for me. And then I'm also probably going to stop doing them. But it all starts with the brain. It all starts with how you're thinking about it. Does that make sense? Rita says, oh girl, I just texted you with something to share on this live stream about our combos and my mindset and the wins that have resulted. What? Hold on, now I have to look. Hold on. I love you so much. So good. And this is so true. So basically, Rita had some mindset stuff that we worked through a week or two ago, and has like been booking out clients like a crazy person ever since then. And it's not because she doesn't know this stuff. We all do. I know this stuff and I need a reset all the time. Like I do this work every fucking day. I work on my mindset and I still need that outside perspective sometimes to be like, okay, so like, I'm not sure if you realize how you're thinking about it, but this is how you're thinking about it. And that's why like it's so valuable. Even if you know all this, even if you're an amazing coach, to have a coach that can be like, there's something going on here, right? And it's not the strategy, even though we want it to be. So Rita is like one of the biggest action takers I know. Like her entire business is called Rita Made Me Do It because she is phenomenal at taking action, making people take action. But it still starts with mindset, right? And so like it's, we want it to be the action or the strategy sometimes because sometimes that's easier for us to fix. Like I'm also a huge action taker. I would love for it to be the action sometimes because it's actually way easier for me to take that than to like look at all my shit, right? But if you do it, that's truly how quantum leaps occur, is you work the mindset shit. It's not that you redo your whole strategy, right? Rita said, I was starting to get too attached again to the outcome and it was crazy. It just totally stopped my routine. Yeah, so that's a whole thing too, is like, excuse me. 9 times out of 10, if a client comes to me and is like, okay, they agree. That was actually because I hit the table. But 9 times out of 10, if a client comes, okay, we're good. If a client comes to me and says, gosh, what I'm doing isn't working, something's not working, I don't know what's going on, blah, 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 right? I'm always like, are you doing your mindset work? And they're almost always like, no. Right. Because that's the other thing with success being 90% mindset, is that it has to happen all the time. Ooh, Lorianne, are you on here by any chance? I haven't seen your name, but I would love it if you were on here. But she shared a quote with me recently. God, I'm going to butcher it. But basically it was like something about how you re-sign your lease on success all the time or something like that. But basically, like, the point was, I'm making no sense. The point was basically, though, that you have to redo the work every day, both in consistently showing up in your business and in consistently showing up in your mindset. It's not like, well, I did mindset work, so now all I have to do is strategy forever and ever. Or like, well, I showed up consistently on Facebook for 2 weeks, so I should never have to do that again. Like, this shit has to happen all the time. And if you're seeing a dip in any of it, it almost always starts with the mindset, right? Hey, Marianne. Rita says, I was trying to control the things and I was go, 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 achieve the goal. But then I stopped and just inserted back in fun and my routine and mindset work and faith. Girl, yes. And got 2 clients right away in 2 weeks and great opportunity. Really great opportunities, by the way, like crazy level opportunities. Speaking in Florida and immediate parents too, all because Lacey was like, just slow your roll, girl, and get back to mindset for a minute. I love you. Thank you for sharing that. It's so flippin' true though, right? Like, when we're like, go, 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 it has to be the strategy. It has to be the strategy. It has to be the strategy. We're just putting ourselves in this place where we feel like we're controlled by outside things. Does that make sense? So it feels like, oh, I really need this thing to work in this way and da-da-da, versus like, I'm feel good, right? The whole point of mindset is to feel good. I feel good now. I feel good before I have the thing. I feel good every day. I feel good enough to show up and do the work, and I feel good because I just feel good. It's so easy to bring the good things in because we're the ones in power and control. Versus when we put all of our eggs, so to speak, in the basket of hopefully this strategy works, it's easy to lose our shit very quickly, right? Because we're like, oh God, I hope this strategy works. Kara says, I'm all about the action, but doing the mindset work is last. Yeah. Oh, and the part about doing it all the time, I much prefer checking off the action steps. Exactly, right? So much easier to be like, I posted in the Facebook group chat than like, I sat down and journaled out my shit, because it feels like the action is always the thing. But like, when you're really doing mindset work consistently, and I know this is so freaking annoying to say because it's like, but like, when you're doing the mindset work consistently, the action is so much easier and you don't have to take as much of it. It's just true. It's so damn true. Sarah Pelk says, one of my new favorites that I'm embracing is where the mind goes, the energy flows. Absolutely. Like, oh, hold on. What you focus on expands, right? Where you put your mind, that's where things happen. So if your mind is on why things aren't working in your business, you're going to consistently have the experience of things not working in your business, right? It's really just that simple. If your mind is on the whole strategy controls my outcome, and so, oh my God, da 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 da, that's going to be your experience. If your whole mind is on, I must work really, 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 really hard and take all the action, all the action, all the action, that's going to be your experience. It's just that true, right? Kara said, need a perspective shift to realize mindset work is an action. It is the action, right? It's sort of like, again, it's like 90% of the game. So you don't want to spend 90% of your time on something that gives you 10% of the results. You want to spend it on the mindset. You want to spend it on the thing that's going to shift you, leap you the most, right? Marianne says, I just found out over the weekend that many business owners struggle with mindset priorities and not knowing how to fill up the pipeline with enough leads. Got me thinking and deciding to take massive action from here on. Thanks for drilling this home further. Absolutely. Glad that resonated. Rita says, and I don't care how great you are with mindset because I'm a woo-woo mindset queen, but we are all just human and we are all going to lose our focus on it. So get someone to tell you to get back on it. It's vital. I agree with this so much, Rita. So like we did our Happy Thoughts retreat this weekend. It was basically entirely mindset. And all of these women are brilliant, successful, impactful, fascinating women who know about mindset work, right? It's not like Sarah and I opened by being like, hi, so we're probably not going to tell you anything you don't already know. We're just going to make you show up and do it and be it, right? And so that's the thing, right? It's like you have to have someone to keep giving you permission over and over and over, and a reminder over and over and over to get back to that. I'm with Rita. Like, I preach this 24/7. I know how important mindset is. And even recently I had to recommit to myself because I was doing I was almost trading off. I was like, well, I can journal or meditate this morning. Which one? I'm definitely in the habit of doing it daily, but I was kind of making all these concessions, let's say, where I'm like, well, I can do this or that, but I definitely can't do both because I have to get shit done. And I like really had to kick my own ass around that and have some people in my life kick my ass around that and be like, wait, like, I don't have to make that choice. Like, that is the most important work I could be doing. Of course, I need to do both. And of course, as soon as I started doing both, it's not like I have less time. Like that impacts my results enough that like the time thing doesn't shift. Does that make sense? So let's talk about two things, which is like doing daily work versus doing like deeper work. Because that was a question I got when I shared what I was going to talk about today. So for me, I think there is a little bit of a difference, but I think they're intertwined. So I'll explain. So daily work for me is like, what do I need today to feel good? Personally, I really, really enjoy like affirmations. I enjoy like reading something inspiring. And I really enjoy like journaling, getting stuff out of my head. Those things make me feel really, really good on a consistent basis. Meditation is another one, but I feel like it's at different times in my life, if that makes sense. All good, but my point is like, it doesn't matter. Like even when I was trading out journaling and mindset or journaling and meditation, like the whole point of both was still to feel good. So it's not like there's a right way to do it, but I think there is a way of like, what are my favorite things? What are the things that make me feel the best? Because again, the entire point of mindset work is to feel good. The deeper work is like, what is in the way of me feeling good? So like affirmations as an example are something I love and make me feel really good. But sometimes there's something in the way of making those feel true. So like if my affirmation is something like, you know, I always receive more than enough money, right? If I have this like deeper underlying belief that like I don't deserve money and that's not true and never comes to me and blah, 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 then just saying the affirmation, although helpful because it's going to just naturally reprogram my brain because the subconscious is filtering for accurate or repetition, not accuracy. So although helpful, if that underlying thing is still there all the time, it's going to be harder to sink in because there's so much resistance to it sinking in. So I think like having daily work that makes you feel really good is important, but that should be pointing you towards the stuff that requires your deeper work, right? So if I'm saying that affirmation every day and I'm noticing this like, ooh, like this tightness or this heaviness or this twinge every time I say it, then that's a moment for me to go, that needs some more exploration. Does that make sense? So the daily mindset work should always be pointed at, how do I feel good every day? How do I start my day from this place of feeling really good? How do I program my brain to think in the way I want it to think and to look for the things I want it to look for every day? But if there's something getting in the way of that, it needs my attention. It needs more of my energy. And it might need more of my time, right? Like I might need to spend an hour journaling that, where on most days I'm going to spend 10 minutes. So I would say like the daily mindset work is so important. The feeling good each day is like so undervalued and so the thing that's going to give you results. But also like don't ignore the fact that sometimes deeper stuff needs to happen. I think in the mindset world, there's almost like two camps, if that makes sense. Like people who are like, it's all the deep work, and the people who are like, it's the affirmations, it's the positive repetition. And for me, it's like, it's always a little bit of both. Like, it just depends. It's almost like, what like combination of spices do you need for your ideal recipe? Like, it's sort of like, how are you going to meet in the middle with those? Like, what do you need for your ideal thing? Thank you, Kara. Thank you. Like Rita was saying, she's done a lot of the deeper work now. So what she had to do was just get back to her routine and get back to that place of fun and feeling good. Like there wasn't like a whole lot to excavate there. It was sort of just like, oh, I forgot for a moment who I am and how fucking powerful I am and how my mind dictates everything. Let me get back on that. You know what I mean? But for somebody else, it might be like, I'm like, haven't gotten clients the last 6 months in my business and I'm feeling like, I don't deserve them and all this stuff. Well, then it might be deeper. You know what I mean? There might be something like way deeper there that has to happen to create the result that you want. So If you guys have been following me for any length of time, you know I freaking love Joe Dispenza. Love, like when people are like, who's on your crush list? I'm like, is it weird if it's Joe Dispenza? He ain't that cute, but he's just so damn great. Okay, so anyway, I'll stop. But one of the things he said on a podcast that I listened to recently, which I highly recommend you guys, it was he was on Lewis Howes' School of Greatness podcast, and it was so flippin' good. But one of the things he said on there is you can solve things in the 3D or the 5D, right? So basically like in the physical, practical world or in the energetic world, right? And that hit me so hard because it was such a perfect explanation for what I've experienced so much in my business, which is like, if I solve things 5D in the energetic space, the 3D kind of works itself out. When I'm trying to solve things in the 3D, it's like hit or miss. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And I feel like I'm working a lot harder and I'm a lot more frustrated. And so that was such a good reminder to me where it's like, we get to choose the level from which we're solving this problem. We talked a ton at the Happy Thoughts Retreat about solving problems from here or solving them from up here. And so many of our women had these like massive shifts in thinking about it that way and thinking about how to solve it, because it was like, oh yeah, like I'm trying to solve all my problems from here, like this situation, this thing, this client, this issue, versus solving it from up here. Like, who am I being in these situations? How am I showing up in these situations? What mindset am I bringing to these situations? What energy am I bringing to these situations? What thoughts am I bringing to these situations? It's an entirely different experience, right? How do you spell it? Hey, Carrie, he's my fave. How do you spell his name? Dispenza. Oh, Carrie typed it in, Dispenza. Yep, exactly. Perfect. So good, Kara. So does that make sense? Like, it's almost like we have a choice. Like, sure, you can try to solve things in the 3D. It's just going to take a lot more work. Or you can solve things in the energetic, in the mindset space, in the 5D, and really like come at the 3D with so much more ease. Another piece of something that we did at the retreat, and one of the women that was there actually was like, will you talk about this on your live stream? Because I think it's really important. And I told her I would. Was this idea of bringing physicality to our mindset work and our intention. So when I say physicality, I mean things like, here's an example. I wear this bracelet to remind me of something specific. It's bringing physicality to an intention and belief that I have. Does that make sense? So we did like this fun thing. I really don't want to say too much about it because the other retreat ladies haven't gotten to do it yet, but we did this really fun thing with sand. And basically it brought physical, like literally touch, see, feel, physicality to things that we are shifting in our brains, right? That's why I love crystals. And for me, that's all crystals do for me, is they bring physicality and intention to something. Like, so if I know this crystal means a certain thing or does a certain thing or means something to me, like bringing physicality to something mindset-wise that I want to work through. Like, this is just another silly example. I really like this, can you tell? But like, my word of the year is love. So I just have it like in front of me on this beautiful little rock that means something to me, to like bring physicality to what I'm trying to create and remember. And so that is an interesting way to bring the 5D and the 3D together. It's also funny because if you think about it, that's actually what witchcraft is. And I'm not saying you're a witch. I'm not saying you have to be a witch, although I don't think that's a bad thing. But it's like bringing physicality to an intention, like whether that's with herbs or plants or spells or mixtures or whatever, to make a thing happen. It's bringing physicality to a mindset, belief, intention that you have in the 5D, right? So that's another thing that you can kind of do if you're like a mindset person, or I mean, if you're an action person who wants to bring more mindset into their business, can you write a list of your affirmations? Can you make yourself a bracelet that signifies it? Can you, excuse me, can you have, I do like a lot of the time in the morning when I do my mindset work, I'll light an incense, and it just like triggers that for me, where it's like, oh yeah, it's like, here's how we're going into this process. Here's what we're doing. Here's the physical manifestation of like what I'm about to do. So that's a good way if you're an action taker, and if you're having a hard time with this idea of like solve shit in the 5D, not in the 3D, bring it down a little bit. Bring some physicality to it. Bring some physicality to your intentions, to your beliefs, to your practice. That's not a bad thing. That's an amazing thing, right? Carrie says, so powerful to have those physical triggers to those beliefs. Exactly. Christina says, this is the second time I've heard this in the last week. Feel like this is a sign I need to do it. 100%, because I don't feel like that's actually something people talk about all that much either. So if you've heard of it twice in the last week, the universe is speaking to you, right? So another thing that I'll share from the retreat is we let everybody like ask us as many questions as they want to, basically. Carrie says rituals create new brain patterns, 100%. And it's like Pavlov's dog. Like our brains aren't that complicated. Like I light the incense and I already feel different. Like my brain's not that complicated. You know what I mean, right? I put on the bracelet and I already think about something in a different, I can't even find it. I put on the bracelet and I already think about things in a different way. Does that make sense? So another thing, so we let all the retreat participants, we had like a bag, and we let them drop as many anonymous or not anonymous questions as they wanted in for us. And one of the questions someone asked me was like, how do I make a quantum shift in my business? And I want to share my answer to that because it also really demonstrates just how powerful mindset is, but it also doesn't negate action, right? So my answer was like, I put myself in the situation where I have to embody this leap that I want to make, and then I do the mindset work, you know, to deal with it, basically. So like as an example, one of the stories I told was that I had been like feeling like, okay, like I'm at a point where I'm like ready to quantum leap and bring in even more money in my business in a new way. And so what I did was I leased a horse. Now, if you guys are horse people, you know that horses are very expensive and you're not really getting anything back in terms of like ROI. Do you know what I mean? Like you're just kind of lighting money on fire, but they're so fun and they're so amazing. There's so much to gain there. But it's like really, it was just a desire I had. It wasn't like because this will help me do X or because like this investment's going to get me here. It's just like I want this fun experience and I want this thing. And it felt like a stretch because it's like really big commitment, really expensive, like really, you know, like a leap. So I did that first. And then I really started to embody that, like, okay, like I am now a person that is like spending this much money on my desires every month. I am a person that's feeling the shift. I'm a person that's getting here. And so like it made me not only make the quantum leap mindset wise, but it started bringing it into me. But it's because I put myself in a physical position in action, in a new action, in living in a new way. And so then everything followed. The next month was my highest month in business. And listen, I think I've gotten much better at this over the years. So that's not necessarily like a recommendation. I'm not saying like go buy a Lexus tomorrow and then get there, but maybe that would work. I feel like I'm in a mindset space now where that's easy for me to do, but it might just be like you're waiting until it feels comfortable to get visible. Wrong. Go hit live and then deal with your mindset as stuff comes up. Deal with your mindset and not delete it. Deal with your mindset along the way. Maybe you're waiting until you feel like you'll be a good coach. No, go start coaching people and up-level your mindset along the way. Does that make sense? So for me, I was like ready to bring in a new income. So I was like, cool, let me put myself in a physical position where like that is required of me and let me let myself up-level to that, right? And so that's another piece of the like bringing physicality to it, bringing action to it. So often we're waiting. I'll do the mindset work until I have the money, then I'll do the thing. I'll do the mindset work until I have all the clients, then I'll up level. Like, it doesn't really work like that. You know what I mean? And again, it doesn't have to be as big as like go out and lease a horse or something, but it is like, what is that next thing for you? And how do you take the action and deal with your mindset as you get there? I was talking to someone recently and they were asking me like, well, how do I become more vulnerable in my relationship? Like, how do I get ready for that? And I was like, well, you do it. And then you deal with all the mindset stuff and your feelings of discomfort while you're doing it. Right? Like, don't wait until it feels comfortable because it's never going to feel super comfortable to get vulnerable. And like all the mindset work in the world doesn't prepare you for something unless you're putting it in action. And here's how I want you to think about that. If I really believed that I could make a quantum leap and make the money I wanted, of course I would lease the horse. If I didn't, if I was like, we'll see, then my mindset really hasn't caught up. If I'm like, well, once, my mindset feels good, then I'll get vulnerable. No, because all you're doing is keeping yourself in the position where your mindset's never going to get ready to get vulnerable, because it's like once I ... is the antithesis of like creating a belief in your mindset that says it's possible, it's true, it's happening. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. Okay, I hope it does. It does in my brain. Sometimes I'm like, that makes so much sense. And I'm like, what does it to everybody? Okay. Jen says, yes, taking action and not waiting. Yeah, totally. Kara said, oh my gosh, this is hitting home big time. Thank you for sending the email to let us know you were doing this Facebook Live on this topic. Kara, thank you for liking my email. I think we're going to do that more. Raquel says, this quantum leap stuff is so good. Sounds like a lot like doing stuff before you're ready. This just gave me a huge answer for a current decision I'm facing. Awesome. Totally to doing stuff before you're ready. I like Melissa Meyer a lot. She was the CEO of Yahoo. She was like the youngest woman CEO. And she has a quote that's basically like, I think great people always do things before they're ready. Like everything I've ever done, I've done before I was ready to do it. And I think that really is like how success is 90% mindset. Because it's like, I have to do the thing and then I have to deal with my mindset along the way. I have to do the thing and then I have to up-level my mindset along the way. So we're not negating action. We're just saying that action is a small part of it. And the rest is getting prepared to do that action and then dealing with your mindset stuff when you do the action. Does that make sense? So it's like action is here and mindset is all the stuff surrounding it. You know what I mean? And so we have to be so much less focused on just like, what's the next strategy? What's the next action? And so much more focused on like, what's the next strategic action? And then what's the 90% of mindset around that? Carrie says we have to be different in order to have a different experience. Be equals thoughts we think and emotions we have. It's always inside, showing up, decision, and then receiving the magic. Totally. I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I think one of the first things we said to people at the Happy Thoughts retreat is like, the entire retreat is about who you're being. It's not about what you're learning. It's not about what information you're getting. It's not about what you're doing. This entire retreat is about who you're being. And absolutely, you have to be different. You have to show up differently for all of that to sink in. And so often we're waiting. When I feel good going on live, then I will. When I feel good spending, or how do I want to say that? When I feel good enough that I can make more money, then I'll spend it. When I, we do this with investing a lot, right? When I get the clients, then I'll invest in the coach. No, right? Let me invest in the coach because I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that if I do, the clients are coming. Let me invest in a coach because I know that I deserve to make this income and I believe that through our work together, this is possible. You know what I mean? Like, we have to be different to create a different reality. But again, 10% of that is action. The rest is mindset, right? So basically, stop waiting for it to be comfortable. Start doing it. Do it every day. See mindset as your top priority, as your top action. See mindset work as your top action to get results in your business, and everything else will follow. I promise. But again, it doesn't mean that strategy and execution or action aren't important. They absolutely are. I mean, my entire business, all my client success, everything is built on mindset, strategy, and execution. Did I tell you guys that I'm TMing or trademarking that? I'm so excited about that. Mindset, strategy, and execution is getting a trademark. So freaking pumped. But anyway, I believe that strategy is massively important. I believe that execution and action matter, but they only take up a small percentage compared to the mindset stuff, right? Kara says, make a choice to take a chance to make a change. Yes. Christina said, I just did this yesterday, wanted a VA, so got one without spending though. I just reached out for trade work, something I would have stopped myself from. Totally, I love that, Christina. It's like, I want a thing, so let me figure out how to get a thing, and let me figure out like, well, I have this belief that I shouldn't trade. Does that serve me? No. Let me get the thing. Like, that's the whole point. You got to put yourself in a different situation, change your belief, change your mindset, right? So hope this was helpful. I hope this is like the like shining bright light that's like flashing at you saying like, I need to focus on mindset. I need to do more mindset work, because once you do, the strategy and the action get pretty easy. Like, people are always like, you're so consistent. You're so consistent. How do you make that happen? Mindset. Like, I believe that all of my actions lead to huge results. So it's really easy to consistently show up and take action. Does that make sense? So I hope that is a takeaway for you guys. I also want to share, I'm doing a challenge next week. That's next week, starting the 5th. That's entirely built on this premise of mindset, strategy, and execution. So 2 of the days are focused on mindset, and then we have strategy and execution. And it's really going to take you through this idea that like mindset is the foundation, but you have to have a clear strategy and you have to show up and take the action. But again, if you do it from this great mindset place, so of course we're starting with that, everything gets easier. It's called Money Making Machine, because I really believe that it's so easy to create a well-oiled machine in your business if you focus on these 3 things and if you give mindset your focus. So I would love to have you guys join me for that. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be so value-packed. It's all new content. I've never done anything like this before. It's going to be 5 days, and it's going to be, I'm just going to say it, it's going to be life-changing. So join us. It's alituplife.com/money-making-machine. Is it, you guys? Hold on, let's see. alituplife.com/money-making-machine. Let's see. Can somebody just check on that and see if that works? I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah. Okay. Ania says, just jumped on. Can't wait to listen to your replay and love your top and hair. Thank you, girl. I appreciate that. Cool. So join us for the challenge. It's going to be amazing. Do your damn mindset work. I promise you will thank me. You will thank me. You will thank me. Just like Rita was like, I did my mindset work and I got 2 clients right away. Like, this is the quantum leap shit. I promise. And it's the stuff that always gets, pushed to the bottom of the list. Make it your focus and you will see massive results. And then join us next week. All right, guys. Love you. Thank you for listening to me. Hope you have a beautiful week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.